now since I've stayed on both sides of the table as a researcher and as a policy maker, and I see there's a great divide between the two sides. Everybody is there working in their own silos. Researchers, so many of our students, when I was in India, so many of the students were doing impact assessment studies of the women's healthcare group. But none of those studies, perhaps the outcome of any of those studies, or many more studies, have actually fed into any kind of a policy space, because it's not because the policymakers do not want to take into account that, but actually there's a wedge between what policymakers require and what researchers are doing. So that is something which is very, very crucial, that how do we bring in these two things together. We have seen the way policies are formulated at the government level, the schemes are rolled out. Most of the times then we have a knee-jerk reaction, we try to see that उसके बाद क्या होगा, उसके बाद हम इसे अच्छा अभी सब खराब हो गया, उसको देखते हैं कैसे ठीक करना है. So that is the kind of approach, rather than having a very solid research-based approach in terms of the approaches, what is going to work there. So the interface between research and policy is something which I would like to emphasize on. The second thing is, which Manju also talked about, she said that education. More and more women are definitely coming into the fold of agricultural education. We've seen the enrollment ratio in agricultural universities going up tremendously. But still, skill development needs rethinking. What I find is that skill development part is not there. People who are working, the girls who are coming for agricultural education, they are not from the perspective of entrepreneurship or skill in the value chain. They are mostly from the perspective of either they will take up a job as assistant professor or work in one of the universities or one of these white-collar jobs, not in the value chain. So there are organizations like Agriculture Skill Council of India. And Agriculture Skill Council of India is running quite a lot of programs. Recently I had an opportunity to discuss with the CEO that what kind of programs you are running and what is the kind of female participation there. And he also lamented over the fact that female participation is really less there. In fact, I was also associated with Business Planning and Development Unit when I was posted in India, right? And we had a lot of programs of commercial dairy farming. None of the programs we ever had a participant, women participants for commercial dairy farming. There are several other skills in which the roles are very stereotyped mentalities there, and so women do not really come up there. So that is where a lot of grassroots work is required, so that they can come in and say that they have to break the ceiling and to work higher in the agriculture value chain. Then of course there is one important aspect, which is establishing the environment through public and private governance mechanisms. So there are international instruments for responsible business conduct, which play a very great role in ensuring that value chains, they do perpetuate gender equality. And you must have heard, since corporate sector is here, you must have heard about the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights. And then we have OECD due diligence guidance for responsible business conduct. Can we integrate some of these into the voluntary sustainability standards? Can we incorporate the gender perspective into the voluntary sustainability standards? Because we have seen, like, now when you are going to commercialization of agricultural products, voluntary sustainability standards will really, after some time, become the gold standard, because that is going to have a premium for the commodity which we are selling in the international markets. Can we try to think that these voluntary sustainability standards also have a gender perspective, where they are not only increasing the gender participation, but I would say gender empowerment around the supply chains. So this is also one thing probably which the corporate sector is here, and you are much more knowledgeable about all these aspects than me, and you are the ones who are actually practitioners, so you would be knowing that how these can be incorporated. So in essence, what I will say, the challenge lies not in identifying the problem, but in crafting pragmatic solutions. And I would just again just focus on the 3 points, that it's time to translate discussion into actions, leverage global lessons, ensure that research shapes policy, and transforming skill development to empower women effectively. I wish a very successful deliberation of the conference. Thank you.
She has several publications in national and international journals of review, and she is currently holding the position of Principal Scientist at National Agricultural Science Fund Unit at ICAR. Her current area of interest is innovation and science management, protection of IP and commercialization aspects of emerging technologies and agriculture and allied areas. Then we have on the panel also Ms. Dupandita. She is spearheading Cargill's corporate social responsibility and sustainable development practice area for Asia Pacific region and interventions related to water sanitation and hygiene. She's passionate about cause of education and gender equality and plays a key role in advancing diversity and inclusion agenda at Cargill as a leader of Cargill Women's Network for Asia and Pacific. Then we have on the panel in the extreme corner, we have Ms. Naseem Zedi. She has been working for the past 17 years and she has created a niche for herself in corporate communications and public affairs. She is at the forefront of strategic communications at Syngenta India Private Limited with the mission to transform storytelling in pivotal agri-tech sector. It's a new emerging area in terms of women role in storytelling. She also is passionate
to give one example that how the women can be brought forward, especially in these agriculture and other areas. So during this International Year of Millets, the efforts of a tribal woman from MP, as you must have all heard about from the Biga tribe, this 27-year-old woman, Lahari Bai, was like her efforts were recognized and she is now being called as the Queen of Millets, or she is the ambassador of millets from India. So because of her efforts of preserving or like conserving 150 varieties of indigenous millet varieties in her village, and also she is involved in having a seed bank, and she gives this seed to the villages, her village, own village, as well as the nearby farmers of the other villages. So basically, her efforts has been recognized at the Indian level as well as the international level. So this kind of recognition and incentivization of such women who are basically doing the farmers, taking the farming at the local level and basically involved in protecting the traditional varieties. I think it's important. And also in the country, we are celebrating 15th October as the Rashtriya Kisan Mahila Divas. So where we are recognizing the efforts of lot of farm women who are otherwise unknown. They are working in their villages, their homes, nearby areas, and also contributing in the farming activities. So I think these kind of incentivization or rewards or recognition, for the recognition of their efforts is very important. Then again, the skilling, as Dr. Smita also said in the earlier session, the skilling of the women becomes very important, especially to make them financially stable. So a lot of formation of women FPOs are there, and because when you make a FPO, so the women are able to aggregate the produce and also to have a better access to the supply chain. So that is also going to help, especially in Orissa. There is a women FPO called Ananya who are involved in this mushroom cultivation, and they have come together and really, because of the formation of the women FPO, they are able to basically increase in the economic status of their livelihood. So this is one area which I think that formation of FPOs are going to help. Although NABARD is coming in a big, has already come in a big way in helping the FPOs and especially the women FPOs also. So I think these FPOs are going to really help. Then another example, as you said, like the examples that can help, which can be used in scaling up. So there is another scheme which is the Kudambashri is there of Kerala. Although that there is again of SHGs and the women SHGs. Uh, in fact, that scheme was basically for the poverty eradication in the Kerala government. It was started and it has been a successful model. In fact, we should have the learnings from that model. And now in that, there also a lot of women are involved in a lot of agriculture operations and how they can come together and the women coming from together, they are taking up these operations and then converting into small businesses and basically getting into the supply chain mode. So this is one what I think a successful example which we can think of and we can scale it up. And then in the another example maybe from the urban sector.
Very, very important to address the microcosm of it while we dwell into everything else that is at a macro level, right? In terms of, yes, we are doing innovation and we have some great success stories. I mean, I've come to some of the success stories that we have at Cargill as well. But creating that enabling ecosystem is at the core of everything. Let the women have her agency wherever she is and meet her where she is today. I think that is super critical and that is my responsibility, everyone on this dice responsibility, everyone in the room's responsibility and everybody else outside who needs to really create that conversation and intentionally with actions and that will need a lot of time as well. I mean, from where we are today, from where we started, there have been patterns that needs to be broken. I didn't want to kind of paint a gloomy picture, but that is a reality that we face every single day. Rural ecosystem where every single day that woman is struggling to find her space. Having been one of the key players in contributing to the agriculture economy, she doesn't get her due. We as corporations, civil society organizations, we do our bit, we do behavior change communication. Somebody was asking a question or made a comment earlier about men needing education. I want to share a little story from MP, which I visited myself a few years back, where we were doing a program on creating an entire nutrition strategy with 300 hotspots in that state, 300 hotspots where because the severe acutely malnourished women and children in that particular region is high, it is Chhatarpur, Panna and Ticambur is the three districts. And then while we were visiting, we learned that a lot of pregnant women in a couple of villages were not given enough food to eat as the pregnancy period developed. And upon investigating why so, they said that their belief system was if that woman eats food, the fetus will not have space to grow in the womb. We need to meet people where they are. And these women were also going to fetch water, which is about 5 kilometers away, to irrigate the agricultural field. No irrigation whatsoever. I think the issues that we are talking about and trying to tackle are much deeper in essence, and we need to meet them at that space. Having said that, let me share a couple of examples of the work that we have been advancing at Cargill. We have a program called Global Hatching Hope Initiative. And as the name suggests, this is a program where we work with poultry farmers. And the biggest set of farmers that we today work in, as part of the global initiative of Cargill, is in India and the state of Orissa and southern Andhra Pradesh as well. We work with 30,000 women smallholder farmers who are poultry producers, backyard poultry producers. So again, when we look at livestock management, this is such a done thing in our ecosystem, right? Everybody does that. But to be able to do that sustainably, to be able to learn about right practices, whether the backyard poultry can have the right kind of biosecurity, they can get the right kind of vaccination, and therefore that can become market ready, and then also train these women farmers to again get their agency, to have that executive presence, if I may use that word, and also then become one of the breadwinners for the family. And when it happens, and we have seen that across the journey for the last 5 years or so that it has been in existence, the nutrition decision that she makes for herself and her own family drastically changes when she has that agency.
Percent of women are engaged in agricultural activities. So when I say agricultural activities, I will also like to highlight that I myself come from a rural background. From the heartland of UP, where I have seen farming, where I have seen women doing work and supporting their spouses, their fathers, from a very early age at different stages of agriculture, from sowing to reaping to harvesting to post-harvesting. The data also says that 55% of the total work in agriculture is done by women. So anyways, feminization of agriculture has already happened. So happy about it, but then where is the gap? So many of my perspective, I will say that the gap is between the two L's. What are the two L's? The two L's which is, keeping women away is that woman is into a labor job. She is into a supportive job. She is acting her husband as an informal worker, supporting her father at an early age, then supporting their brothers, then supporting their husbands, then supporting their children. She is working in the field. She is contributing to the food security basically, but if agriculture has to be sustainable and rural communities more resilient, what we have to do? We have to make this labor a leader. There is a huge gap. The data says that woman is contributing, but where is her contribution going? So her contribution is getting lost somewhere between the three divides: the digital divide, the rural divide, and the gender divide. I will highlight more on the digital divide and what we at Syngenta are doing to empower women, but first let me highlight on the gender divide. So a woman, basically, and as I go to field very often, and 3 months I keep traveling to look for stories, and women empowerment is close to my heart. So when I visit any farm and I ask, are there women farmers whom I can speak to? Are there farmers, women who are specifically into farming? The women will come somewhere from the behind, but they will not be in the forefront. And they will be in a wheel, or they will be covering their head and very reluctant to speak. And then when we encourage them, they will like to speak, but they will look at their husband or their grown-up children, the male children, to take approval. So that is where the leadership is lacking. They will want to speak, but their husbands will tell them, okay, this much you have to speak. So this empowerment needs to be given to women. That is very important. Secondly, I will highlight the gender inequality. And that's, we are trying to bridge it in the urban areas, but still it's the same in the rural areas. So the moment a woman gives birth to a child, the responsibilities automatically are transferred to her. Taking care of the child, if the child is not sleeping entire night, it's the woman's responsibility. The father will sleep conveniently. No one will. I'm sorry to say this, but this is what actually happens, and mainly it happens in rural area. And the mother will be awake all night. Then caregiving for elders, if you see. So, be it in-laws or parents, the primary responsibility of it lies with the woman. So that is where, women do contribute, but they keep contributing informally. They are not able to become those leaders, the change makers, which is actually required basically for us as India to lead the world and feed the entire world. We have the capacity, and we have the workforce. We are not mainstreaming our workforce. We are not getting women to do the wonders. I strongly believe that you give a job to a woman, provide her with those opportunities and support her, she will do wonders. But are we justifying that specifically when it comes to women farmers? We are not, because she is overburdened with responsibilities, lower responsibilities, so she always removes into that informal role of farmer. She has not become a farmer entrepreneur or an agri-entrepreneur, which is required. So this divide needs to be, bridged. As a very small initiative, as a pilot, we at Syngenta India has started a project at Vanaparthi. So that's our CSR initiative. We have built Mandi with all the facilities for women farmers, sellers, and vendors, and for men also. But for women exclusively, we have created a clean toilet, a creche facility, daycare facility, and a lush green park, where women can do their business at ease. And after almost 9 months, when we went back again to Vanaparthi, we found more and more women vendors are coming and participating because they are able to bring their children with them. Their children are playing, they are studying, they are sitting, and to make the leaders out of those women, we have asked one woman, to work in shifts, take care of the children while other women are selling their produce. So we have to create these kind of change to stream.
And start from the topic is more directly the supply chain. So there are lot of now interventions which Bayer as well as other companies are introducing for supply chain digital interventions and procurement, and also the customer experience. Also a lot of digital technologies are being used which are women friendly. So one of the things I have seen is education is definitely playing a vital role in taking into a lot of more women into this modernizing agriculture space, and how we have seen WhatsApp groups and the mobile phones which are becoming a change of agent. So a lot of women groups, a lot of women self-help groups actually are connected through this WhatsApp chat. They are making those decisions and also making each other aware of the technology solutions which are available in the market. So one of the examples everybody has put is the drone. The government has already allocated 1,261 crore in the next 2 years for this program, and there has been actually spearheading this policy framework with the government. And one of our key initiatives is to have many females also being trained as pilots. The government has again supported and all these initiatives with curation from the industry level as well as Bayer. So this program has come to light, and together with the ecosystem players, there are now in Punjab, there is a special group of ladies which are trained on pilots, which are doing not only the spraying but also imaging, navigating the drone part. This is generally considered to be a very heavy machine. So whenever we talk about technology, generally we see these are made according to how the men can navigate. The heavy, the lifting and all, and also in terms of the know-how. Very few females were in the engineering space previously. So with a change in perception now, many females are breaking that niche. Many women are coming into 4 areas where they want to learn, and also there is acceptability, I would say. So the customer experience space previously was dealt by men, but now I see many females who are feeling it, and they feel, the customer feels more satisfied because women relate more to the customer needs. They probably understand, as a, so it is generally said that if you educate a man, you educate one person, but if you educate a woman, you educate the whole village. So that way, this change which is happening in that technology level in agriculture. However, also going back to a lot of good things shared by my fellow participant Pamita and Sari about still there is a need. So last month I was in a farm at Panipat, and this is a farm which is a vegetable procurement supply farm. And what we saw is in the morning around 8:39, there were all females in the farm and all picking the fruits. And we kind of asked them that how much you get paid or what time you come. They said this is generally settled by our men before. And we come in the morning after we send our children to the school, and this is the only time, 2 hours we have where we can do some work. So agriculture is still a very labor intensive job. Let us be, at least in India, we have not introduced many forefront technologies, be it for men or women. I mean, I would not, at this point in time make it man or woman. So agriculture needs technology. If we have more modern technologies which are available outside, it should be definitely then gender agnostic, that it should be available and be both be trained, the men and women. Drone is just one example. We have other precision agriculture technologies in regenerative agriculture, talking about soil health. So there's a whole lot of different space now we are into in making that transformation for agriculture. And women can definitely play a very big role in this whole story, and Bayer has recognized it. So in terms of people talking about commitments, so 10,000 SHGs for various programs. One of the programs is our DSR, another is the FPO, which we are supporting and curating specific SHGs. Another program we have is Better Life Farming Alliance. And BLF, this is a kind of entrepreneurship.
Change the scenario for women in agriculture.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you, Ficci, for organizing this. So, before I answer a question, I would like to focus that we want women representation, more and more women representation on leadership in every stage, in every level of agriculture. So whether it is a farm level, whether they are setting up a micro enterprise, whether they are involved in an R&D process, they are involved in product formulation, they are involved in policy making. So this is very important to have a women leadership at every level, because this will be very important. And this will give them the decision-making power, which Dr. Sangeeta rightly indicated that this will come with their financial stability, and this will come with their educational stability. So we have to ensure that we will have the access for financial and educational policy and different kind of other initiatives which are basically related to health and their well-being. So this is very important, because I see when I go to the field, I haven't seen any female dealer distributor in the field working. So if we incorporate women, if we represent women more and more in our agricultural sector, so this will be very very helpful for increasing a strong supply chain, and this will be very helpful while we have so many women working in the field in our sales and marketing sector as well. So it will be very helpful for creating a broad vision, giving them a market space so that they can leverage this and they have a strong connect. And in terms of policy, so government, civil society and private sector must come together to build an ecosystem that basically support women entrepreneurship and the self-help groups. So some policy can be made for supporting the land ownership and capacity building program and training for new agriculture equipments like the these examples have been quoted many times for the drone training. So this is very important, and civil society basically they can implement, they can monitor, they can implement, and they have some provision for the transparency in process, and for private companies they can include more diversity in agriculture, more diversity in their business, and promote female on a leadership position. So this can be done with the various kind of leadership programs, training, mentoring. We are also having a practice of running women network in UPL, which our management also supports like very, very strongly. So not only they are supporting this, but they are also providing a complete platform where they can giving women the opportunity to develop them in a leadership roles, giving them opportunity where they can handle the parenting and wellness in a better way. So these kind of initiatives, we have so many exciting programs running for this. And yeah, so UPL has one more program running, which is UPL Udyamita, which is Udyamita is empowerment. This is basically going on Gujarat cluster, Bharuch cluster, covering Ankleshwar, Vapi, Jagadia areas. They have SSG groups which are helping women to establish their micro-saving accounts, their small scale business, providing them infrastructure, providing them equipments to set up all this. And three things basically which companies can incorporate is basically the gender diversity, promoting women in leadership roles, and the important is collaborating with NGOs and civil society for such programs which are basically providing access, which are ensuring access for women for basically education purpose, health purpose, and financial literacy, digitalization. There are so many things they can help, and they can reach out, and they can grow their market space with digital technologies.
Some two questions. What I also request the audience is that while we are going through this panel discussion, please jot down your points and your observations and raise them only at the end of it. Let's not disturb break the thread of thoughts for our panelists. So with that, we start with our first panelist. She's not here, so we are going to start with Rory. Hi, Rory. Ms. Rory has 25 years of experience in marketing and innovation. She has led the development of a comprehensive crop information management platform for female leaders sectors. She's also a member of Ficci's Women Business Council. Rory has knowledge, financial resources, or just a behavior change that is required. Also, how can we encourage and support more women to venture into entrepreneurship? What are some successful examples that you would like to share?
Thank you. So I ventured into entrepreneurship from being a corporate slave some 5 years ago. So I can't say successful, but I'm one example of a woman having ventured into entrepreneurship. Diving back a little bit, thank you, Anuja, for having me on this panel. If we look at the agri value chain or agricultural supply chains that we're looking at, in the previous panel, we had heard from Edith that feminization of agriculture has already happened. She quoted 55% of the farm labor is women. The Oxfam report that I was reading mentions 70%. Nevertheless, fact of the matter is that a majority of the farm labor is women. And we've seen that, we know that all the migrant labor in the cities is men, and the women get left behind to do the agriculture.
changes that we are now seeing, which we had probably not hoped to see in our lifetimes. And these are defining changes for our country. Maybe those of us who live in urban areas don't recognize just how impactful these changes are. When you, the image that you get of a rural woman, and it was mentioned here, women going 5 kilometers to fetch water, women going 10 kilometers to fetch firewood, those images are changing by the day. So the gas cylinder scheme, the Ujjwala Yojana for rural women, many of us don't realize just how transformative this has been. The promise of piped water to every house is going to change lives dramatically in the rural sector. It's already started changing lives. And what that does is a very insightful comment in the previous panel that the bulk of the labor, it was livestock and then women and then men. I mean, unfortunately, that's really the chain. A lot of that labor, women are going to be freed of it. Some of it they already are. Some of our staff tells us that every morning when their mothers in the villages, they turn on the gas stove. There's the image of the Prime Minister on the stove. They first do this and then they turn on the stove. That's how transformative it has been. Many of us living in urban areas really don't realize this. As a result of this, more and more, I do understand that there is a digital divide and all of these things take time. It's a process, but a lot of this is starting to change. For example, we are privy to a lot of data, for example, of farms that get insured through the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. And because of that, we get to see a lot of land ownership data. And it's very interesting that a lot of women are showing up increasingly over the years as recipients of credit, as women who opt to get their farms or their agricultural produce insured. And over the last 5 or 6 years, I'm myself seeing this change taking place on the ground. So this is about the farm itself. If we talk about the agriculture value chain, both on the input side and the output side, opportunities are opening up. For example, on the input side, a lot of, I know that the previous panel spoke about precision farming. Opportunities are opening up in science and technology. So in my own company, there are a lot of remote sensing scientists who are directly now looking at farmlands, estimating crop acreage, advising companies on their seed production.
Tanushree, from you, we would like to know that you have played a very pivotal role in shaping the future of millet production in Rajasthan. What, according to you, were the key challenges that women face in accessing fair and profitable markets for their agricultural products? How can we build stronger linkages, and what would be the role of technology and innovation in improving the market access for women?
Thank you, Ficci, for inviting me here. I'm directly coming from Jaipur, so I feel I'm still in the cabs. Excuse my lack of focus, if there's any. Your first question was, what are the challenges women generally face in terms of agricultural produce or market linkages? So I've worked with corporates, I've worked with women farmers, I've worked with women laborers, and I think as long as challenges are concerned, they're very similar. For a corporate woman to a women farmer, they're similar in the sense that there's an ego attached to it, that I should not be, as a woman, people should behave in a certain manner? What if something went wrong? What if, you know, I maybe someone, you know, they have a fraud mindset, or they do some sort of, you know, malpractice with me. When it happens with men, it is usually called, Acha, this is life, it happens. But when it happens with women, it is usually associated that maybe you are not aware, maybe you are not good enough, or maybe you're not, तुमको तो ऐसे ही बेवकूफ बना दिया होगा, like that. So in terms of challenges, I think I always start with this, that the first challenge women face is their conditioning. It's how we are built up. If you originally objectively see us, we are not very profit-oriented gender. We are very, very emotional in terms of our decision making, and sometimes it is taken as you know, maybe we are incapable of work and commerce and profit, etc. So I think taking from how we are conditioned to as a society, as an Indian society, and especially the underprivileged Indian society, I think the second barrier that I feel is obviously the ego side of it. You know, as a woman, I'm always representing my family, my khandan, my sasural, and everything. Leave alone my company, my startup, and then my industry. I also have responsibility to, you know, representing all those things, and therefore I'm very, very conscious of every single step that I take. How I'm having, drinking my water, or taking my coffee, or speaking to my colleague, or you know, going out to the market. So the second barrier is obviously the baggages that I have on my shoulder as a woman. And whether I'm a farmer or a corporate or a startup founder, it doesn't matter. I am carrying those baggages. As long as underprivileged I am, my baggage is always, it increases by that privilege level. So if I'm a women farmer, I have to have my ghungat on. I have to respect my JG or my sasurji, and if they are speaking, obviously I'm not supposed to take those decisions. Whether or not I've built that field, I've produced that crop, I have all the right to have the money, but you know, just because I come from that social background, and just because I come from that part of the society, I have those baggages. So I think it doesn't matter that how well of scientists we speak here, we can make a lot of policies, but as jab tak we are not changing, it is these scenarios at societal level, at human level, I don't think there's any difference we are going to make. And I'm saying from the point of view that I have we speak with women farmers very frequently. We visit their field, we purchase the crop that is, so we understand what kind of psychology that goes behind. Now, I think the third part of the question was how technology can maybe bridge these barriers. I think as a country, we are very, very advanced in terms of technology. We have ChatGPT and we have every single thing on earth that is possible.
We next move on to our discussion on the economics and the policy side, and our next panelist is Dr. Arpita Mukherjee. Dr. Mukherjee has over 30 years of experience in policy-oriented research, working closely with the government and policymakers in the European Commission and its member states. She holds a PhD in economics from the University of Portsmouth, UK, and is also a member of the Peace Task Force on Sustainable Agriculture. Dr. Mukherjee, what would really love to understand is that what policy changes can be undertaken and create to create a more equitable and supporting environment for women business, and also how government agencies and private sector can come together, because at the end of the day, to ensure that this growth or this mainstreaming is sustainable, the profitability of the business sector is a crucial
for inviting me. From a policy angle, this is quite complex because you just saw the G20 presidency. And it's very clear that we are not achieving our targets on gender and other areas, as well as if you talk about any agreements that we are looking at from the international side, it talks about resilient supply chain and gender sensitivity. Now, even in trade, we are discussing gender sensitivity. And when we were sitting in some of these meetings, and it came to a big bold realization on my part, like how disaggregated they go within the gender when they talk about women in agri value chain. So when you talk about women in agri value chain, first of all, there is a UN SDG associated with gender equality, but there is another UN SDG which we don't take care of at all, which is SDG 17, which talks about how stakeholders need to work together to achieve the women gender equality. Now, when you look at from a top line down on the gender equality, it is like, and that first you have to achieve equality, then you do the advancement. Okay, so if you look at equality, then it is talking about ILO decent work. And that means that it is talking about equal wage. It is from an economic angle, it goes a step back. Technology comes a much later. Like it will be equal wage for equal job. It will be occupational safety. We all spoke about it, but these have clearly defined timelines. It has also how you treat a woman during the maternity benefits, and which are the added benefits should be given to the women, which is very much a part of corporate life now, because you have implementation of these practices in India, But what we have found in our study is that the same law, when it goes down to the villages to agriculture, it becomes very loosely implemented. So your enforcement and implementation and your understanding of the existing regulation is probably something that is needed when we go down to the rock bottom of the agricultural value chain. It's not like, and there is something, they need something like you have those sevika types, somebody who guides you into your roles and responsibilities and the roles and responsibilities across the supply chain. Now, why is it important for companies to look at it? Because if other countries are talking about resilient value chain, they are going to map your supply chain to the farms. And when the supply chain traceability is mapped to the farms, today it is only mapped in terms of the MRL content, health and safety content. But tomorrow, if it is mapped to the quality of the jobs and the jobs you are creating, it is a big problem for India. Because we don't even know who are the agricultural laborers, how many of them are men and women. So we land up into a landmine from data collection to policy implementation to schemes. Now, when we started looking at some of these value chains, taking into account some of these agricultural exportable value chains, like if you look at the export, because you have to meet a European Union standard which is coming up next year, then if you go down to your value chain, the problem is mostly, as of now, it is self-declaration. I am giving this wage. There is often no recording of the wages, and often these are paid in cash. Now, if they are paid through the bank accounts, the women have several problems, and the three problems that came up very quickly is that although they have the bank account, they don't have access to ATMs. Access to ATMs for women is sometimes more important than access to technology.
Agriculture supply chain. For Solidarity, the organization I represent here, is the core of the supply chain. So when we talk about this agriculture supply chain, we have something to be shared with the policymakers. We have something to be discussed in these type of forums. I was listening from the beginning, the different points are there, different policy level discussions was there. Some people are talking about the participation, some about the policies, some about the APOs. So we might be aware a lot of the different discussions, schemes are going on to empower the women. And we have experiences. It's not only about the political empowerment going to be work. वो हर सरपंच पति कहलाता है अभी जितना भी political empowerment हो गए. So actually it's all about the economical empowerment. And when we talk about the economical empowerment in the country like India, where the 80% of the populations are involved with the agricultural work, and we have the data that 70% of the populations, women populations engaged in the agricultural work. So today's topic is foremost important when we are discussing the agenda. So what I try to say is not only about the participation, the policy going to be work. Policy can be the base to be mobilized the all discussions what we are doing here. I can put only two examples when we discussing with the FPOs, the farmer producer organizations. Lot of discussion was there. अभी भी आप देखेंगे under the PM schemes 10,000 APO, no mandatory obligations to be found the women-based APOs. कोई जरूरत नहीं आपको 10,000 ही पुरुष वाले बना सकते हैं, कोई जरूरत नहीं है. अभी भी स्कीम में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Although we have the 250 APOs led by the women in country, but these all are the voluntary entries of the motivation they are found this. So we can just see when the government announced these type of schemes, simply said that 50% should be on the women led. 5,000 APO जो बन जाएंगे महिलाओं के, तो शायद इतना सारा डिस्कशन का जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगा. अगले 5-7 साल में पूरा सप्लाई चेन वैसे ही women led हो जाएगा. ये एक पॉलिसी का डायनेमिक्स समझ में आते हैं. दूसरा देखिए बहुत सारा रिजर्वेशन हो गया, महिलाओं की रिजर्वेशन हर जॉब में गवर्नमेंट का भी पॉलिसीज में है. सो दिस ऑल लिमिटेड टू द अर्बन एरिया. हमने समझना पड़ेगा व्हेन वी आर डिस्कसिंग द एग्रीकल्चर सप्लाई चेन, तो वी आर डिस्कसिंग भारत नॉट इंडिया. थोड़ा समझना पड़ेगा कि जब एग्रीकल्चर सप्लाई चेन का बात करेंगे तो दिस टाइप ऑफ ऑल स्कीम्स और द प्रायोरिटीज गोइंग टू बी considered based on the dynamics in the rural area. गांव का महिला ही नहीं, गांव का पुरुष भी शहर के पुरुष से अलग है. हम लोगों ने जो शहर में भी देख रहे हैं कि हम लोग एक फोरम पे हैं, ये एकदम से नहीं हुआ है. It take a lot of the times. अभी भी मैं थोड़ा सा फ्रेंकली कह पाता हूँ कि अभी भी हम कहने को शहर में महिलाएं सबल हो गए, ऐसा है नहीं. मैं जानता हूँ क्योंकि मेरी वाइफ भी काम करते थे, कॉलेज में पढ़ाते थे. दूसरे बच्चे होने के बाद में हम लोगों ने तय किया कि वो जॉब नहीं करे, दूसरी जिम्मेदारी संभाली, म्यूचुअली एग्री हो गए. लेकिन वो एक रियलिटी है कि एम्पावर के नाम पे हम लोगों ने महिलाओं को बाहर तो कर दिया, लेकिन जो पीछे का जो बेकट सपोर्ट है वो तैयार नहीं हो पाया है. आज भी मैं देखता था, मैं संयुक्त परिवार में था, मेरा जो वाइफ नौकरी करके घर पे आते थे तो सीधे लग जाते थे किचन में कि खाना बनाना है घर वालों के लिए. वो स्थिति बहुत ज्यादा बदली नहीं है. जब अर्बन एरिया में भी इस तरह से अभी तक नहीं बदला है, अभी हम रूरल एरिया का बात कर रहे हैं जिसमें कि काफी बड़ा एक गैप है. तो उसमें मुझे लगता है कि वी शुड फोकस ऑन द पॉलिसी चेंजिंग डायनेमिक्स. इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट द पार्टिसिपेशन. एक बार पॉलिसी में जब हम बात करते हैं, गवर्नमेंट का पॉलिसी का एक एग्जांपल बात किया. सिमिलरली व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द बिजनेसेस पॉलिसीज, we are talking about the agriculture supply chains. Lot of the procurements happen in the rural area through different channels. कंपनियां भी घोषित कर दे, कारगिल कंपनी हमारे साथ में है कि they will including the minimum 5-10% or 20% procurement from the women led farmers. तो एक ही डिसीजन से आपका काफी सारा चीजें हो जाता है. I know it is not easy, but the systems take place based on the interest from the policy makers. हम लोग आपस में डिस्कस करके आगे कुछ एजेंडा मोबिलाइज कर सकते हैं, but ultimately it depends on the people who are listening us, who participate in this type of discussions, are in which level capable to be design or take the decisions internal systems. So this is the sense of learning I just shared. But as an organization, we are working on this agenda since many years now. We organization set up around 4 APO
parameters that are right now. So at Yara, what we are doing in terms of having giving equal opportunity to all the kind of both the genders is we are taking sensitive efforts in hiring female families. And when I see that there is a lot of effort that goes on in hiring female candidates for our front line, wherein we are expecting them to go and meet farmers in those rural areas, which is not a very easy job for a woman to conduct. But at the same time, we see that there is a lot of female college going students who are taking up agriculture as their mainstream studies. And where are these female going? Why are they taking agriculture if they are not ready to pursue that? So, and then the idea comes whether we want to develop these female candidates, whether we want to take them ahead in the ladder, and how we want to groom them, how we want to change the business, how we want to change the model, how we want to represent ourselves in the rural business and rural markets. So, as a company, as an organization, Yara has decided to take management trainees, starting from there, grooming them in terms of the rural business that we are having, and taking them out in the market and telling them what they can do to bring changes. Why we are doing this, that is also very much important. Not only as an organization that we feel that gender equality is required, but we also feel that it also gives the farmers who are there out in the market, out in the rural areas, these farmers feel actually very comfortable while talking to our female colleagues. And that's the kind of understanding, or and this is whatever the process and things that we are trying to bring in terms of talent management, building talent acquisition. All this is change that we are talking about, and this kind of change is going to really take a lot of time, because our society is made in such manner, because we are being accustomed, we are being conditioned in various different manners since childhood. And all of us, not only me, not only the rural people, it is all of us. We come from different backgrounds, different family businesses, or different kind of backgrounds, representing different religion and everything. But when we talk about the societal dynamics, there is a change. The entire ecosystem is not only dependent upon one thing while building women in the agriculture. It depends upon 4 things, I would say. One is agriculture education for those who are coming up. So we have to build them, think of various opportunities for them, how they can come up and how they can support the business, how they can transfer the knowledge that they have, and they also when they are going out, they are making the farmers competitive. Then second is the women farmer that we are having there. They are the ones who we have had a lot of discussions of how the woman farmer is actually doing a lot of things, but is not the forefront of the household, and that is why she's taking a backseat every time when any kind of discussions. How we can ask them, how we can train them, or transfer the knowledge that we have. So this is another dimension of the ecosystem that we are talking about. Then third is the retailer and the dealers that we are dealing every day in the market. They have a different mindset when a female colleague or a female employee is going to them. We should start educating them as well that it is not about gender, it is about the business that we are talking, it is about the sustainability that we are talking about. It's not whom you are talking to. So let's grow up there as well. And the fourth dimension is can we also add young leaders, manage those young leaders? When I say that young leaders, not only those who are in the colleges, I'm also saying that when we are, so someone said that women makes the society, and whatever is taught to women is actually inherited in the entire family or the village, because she's the one who's taking care of all the.
As we conclude these enlightening session, I extend heartfelt thanks to all the participants, speakers, and everyone who contributed to the success of our conference. Now I would like to invite everyone to the lunch in the banquet hall at the 3rd floor. Thank you so much.